welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. It is so nice to have you here. Hey, we have kind of a little landmark in the last month. Um, just on our Facebook social media, we hit 9 million views. That's all you guys. And YouTube, oh my God, our numbers are like through the roof, just like unbelievable crazy. And I'm actually getting paid for that. So I like that. So you guys are being very nice to me. The more you pay attention, the more I get paid. And it's not much. Believe me, my sponsors pay me the money. It's not these things. But no, you guys are really responding well. You're liking what we're doing. I appreciate your comments. Even you nasty haters, keep doing it. Come on, bring it on, baby. I like that. So tonight we have a really fun show to talk about. But I want to really quick, and she and I can talk about this too. Hi, Kate. Nice to have you here. Did you guys hear that already in 3 days, you guys in Oregon, 43,000 of you have shown up and signed in person the petition to tell Tina Kotek that her gas tax, that she can shove it up her butt. I mean, you guys, 43,000 of you. I mean, can you believe you? I can't believe you. I just put something on that I was so proud of you on Facebook. 100,000 likes. You guys, you are going to do this. You're going to turn this thing around. You're going to change Oregon. You're going to get a more balanced, not a Republican. You just need a balanced legislature. So you don't have crazy Democrats coming up with, kissing Tina's ass and putting this transportation tax through. And you're saying not just no, but you're saying hell no. So let me give you a real quick little brief thing. I get a lot of letters and emails and texts from you guys saying, I'm in Hillsborough. Where do I go? If you have a question, go to notaxor.com. And they'll be posting all kinds of information on where you can go in different communities. They're already doing it, but that's where you need to go. I appreciate, you asking me, but I don't know. So you need, and please, listen too. Because you guys, no offense, okay, but we're all human beings and everything like that. And we tend to just get like, oh, there's a sign up. Where do I go? Well, go look first and do your homework and then go sign the thing. Because we can't have you asking questions all the time about things that are on the website. So go to that website and that's where you can find it. Where in Eugene can you sign? If you go on that page, or notaxor.com, and it'll show there's a bunch of places in Eugene now that you can sign. Now, we can't do our show without my dear friend, Dr. Michael Bratlin. He is an amazing man, and he helps sponsor our show because he likes that we talk about things that other people in the legacy media doesn't want to talk about. So one of the things you guys are going to be doing next year is getting rid of Tina Kotek. And you're actually going to be super, super brave because you're going to see what you did in this get rid of the gas tax thing. You're going to see how powerful you are. And so you're going to elect a new governor. And you're going to finally, in like 40 some years, put a Republican in there. Not because Republicans are great and wonderful and better than Democrats. I mean, we're all good people. But you need to change. You need something different. Vicatillo was your last governor, and he got you through the 80s when there was a terrible recession. He was an amazing man, and he never got credit for it. One of the most gentle, kind human beings you will ever meet. He has passed, but I got to interview him before he did, and he was a wonderful man. Never got credit, but the last governor of Oregon. So one of the women, hoping to be your next governor is, boom, Danielle Bethell.
That was quick. Hi.
There you go. So Danielle is in Eugene, Oregon, and tell people what you're doing is sitting in your car in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, so I just raced down here to get on this interview. This whole week, I'm going to be joining my peers from across Oregon. All 36 counties will be down in Eugene for our annual Association of Oregon Counties conference. And I'm finishing up my leadership term this year. So here to network, to learn, to draft and design policy going into 2026, and to be together. I think it's important that we all know what's going on in our respective counties and share ideas and solutions and partnerships and all that. We get to do that here this week.
So a lot of novice get involved, or career politicians get involved. And you're a politician, but as a county commissioner, I don't think of it the same way. I don't, maybe that's just stupidity on my part, but you are a county commissioner in Marion County. And how long have you done that?
5 years. I'm finishing up my fifth year.
What do you love about it?
Oh, my favorite thing is that I get to do two things. I get to be at the policy table and I get to be at the executive table, meaning I can design the direction and like the policy direction of the county with my peers, but then I also get to be in the weeds. I can be a solution-oriented creator and problem solver. If I see a problem and I have the skill to create the solution, I can go do that too.
And why, Danielle, touch your head and feel your temperature. Why do you want to put your name in the hat to run for a governor in Oregon?
Yeah, that's a big question. People ask all the time. And it wasn't like I woke up one day or even as a child decided, oh, I want to be the governor or had dreams to be the governor. I never wanted to be a county commissioner and I never wanted to be a school board member. I just wanted to be a person that was helpful to others around me. And what I have found myself in year after year is a space where there's just not real leadership present, meaning people that will show up at any table to have a conversation with anyone about anything and stand on the skills and knowledge that they have as an individual, but more importantly, challenge people to be better, to be more creative, to be more present, to be more thoughtful. And in the 5 years that I've been a county commissioner, I have seen firsthand from every seat that I have, and I'm at a lot of tables in government in Oregon, the lack of real understanding of how Oregon's government is, how it works, the way it's designed, the way it's supposed to interact, the things it's supposed to do. I've been frustrated with the scope creep in every state agency. I've been frustrated with Governor Brown and now Governor Kotek and all their policies and all their agendas and their lack of interest in actually doing what their job is, which is being the executive of the state government and making sure agencies are operating and delivering the way Oregonians need and want. And I'm just being totally frank, these last two governors have not given a real shit about anybody except for themselves and their agenda and their policy and their party. And I'm sick of it. Like, I'm, as a citizen, sick of it, as a business owner, sick of it, as a mom, county commissioner, all the things. And so when my first 4 years as a commissioner, I just spent time building relationships across the state in every single county in Oregon. And then when I led myself into leadership with the Association of Oregon Counties out of just pure glutton for punishment, I guess, I recognized that there was no real relationship and understanding between counties and the state, counties and the governor. And so I attempted to open that door. And if you know me, you know that I'm persistent. I can be aggressive. I'm very truthful, really transparent. And all of 2024 and a portion of the end of 2023, I just found myself asking, don't we deserve better?
Yeah. Yeah. Danielle, we're getting questions, which
Okay.
is really good. Somebody says, Danielle, what's your position? I can't wait for this one, on the fact that we are a sanctuary state.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love people and I love cultures. One of the things that bothers me about the sanctuary status is the fact that we are not transparent with Oregonians about the cost of that policy decision. And it wasn't a policy that was designed by citizens. It was designed by the legislature, and it was originally passed in the legislature. And we all know, I probably know better than anyone else, that what happens in the legislature stays in the legislature. Most people have no idea when the legislature meets and what they do every single time they're there. And that policy in itself is costing Oregon taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. And it's protecting criminals. And it's harming our neighborhoods. In my county alone, I can talk about the 5 subpoenas that we received at the end of September from the Federal Department of Justice that we couldn't act on because of the Oregon Sanctuary Law that was amended in the 2021 legislative session. That law is protecting criminals. these 5 criminals that they want access to, they're child rapists. They have committed heinous, horrible crimes. And I'm not allowed to provide any information on those subpoenas to the federal administration. However, I can provide it to a newspaper if they FOIA us or do a public records request. There's something wrong with that. It's not balanced.
On the Daily Mail today, they had an article done out of Portland where the reporter followed ICE agents and cops, and they talked about the dysfunction. And this one guy had been arrested like 14 times, and several of the times he'd raped and sodomized young girls.
Yeah.
And so you have a governor who's a female, which I know, but you think that women's rights would be important to you,
I think more than that, though, Rick, victims' rights should be more important to you. And I'm not suggesting that we want to just rip off the Band-Aid and make a sweeping decision that harms innocent people that are trying to make a better life for themselves. I go back to the Reagan administration when he offered amnesty to people that were here, and they went through this immigration process. Even those people that live in Oregon today that received that amnesty waiver and have been here for over 30 years, they're terrified as to whether or not they are here legally or not. They don't know. They can't get an answer to that, I guess. There's so much confusion between the federal administration and the state administration that nobody can get a clear answer, and it's creating fear amongst our neighborhoods. Well, I don't think that that's right.
No,
but
I think it's planned by the state to make it. They love confusion because they're trying to make it confusing. Okay, Second Amendment rights. Chris wants to know, what's your view on 2A rights?
Yeah, I am pro 2A. In fact, I'm the only candidate in the governor race that's been supporting Tony Aiello in his lawsuit against Measure 114. I am frustrated that, again, Oregon is a reactive state where we create policies based on fear, not on information and education and exposure. I didn't grow up around firearms. I grew up in poverty, and I should say I didn't grow up possessing them or having positive interactions with them. But as an adult, I've had a lot of exposure to firearms and gun safety and awareness and, the joy of them, but also the protection of them. What I'm frustrated by in Oregon is that we have this one-sided narrative with the majority of the people who are in the legislature who spew fear. They act like every time something bad happens that involves a firearm, the firearm somehow managed to make that outcome occur themselves, instead of talk about the mental health system that's broken and the people have access to things that they shouldn't have access to. Oregon has been so lopsided in essentially harming the majority for the actions of the minority, which is maybe common in general. I don't know, but here in Oregon, it's frustrating. And I think there's things that we can do differently. We can provide new types of structures of safety and access. There's a guy named, I think his name is Derek, and I know he follows you. And
I think I know Derek, who you're talking about.
He does like firearm safety for youth.
Yep. Yeah, down in Eugene.
Yeah, I don't know him well. In fact, if I've met him, I have forgotten about that, and I'm sorry if he's watching you, because I have really found his information on social media really informational and very interesting. And the fact that he's invited into youth programs to provide that education, I think, why are we not doing more of that? Why aren't we teaching people about safety of firearms so that we don't have to be so reactive and fearful of them?
Right. Well, what I find so weird is that it seems like the left a lot likes to take guns and go, when somebody kills somebody, the gun didn't do it by itself. It has this thing called a trigger that must be pulled by someone. And we never hold the someone responsible. We always blame an inanimate object. That's like, it's the dumbest thing. It's like blaming a car when somebody gets in a car accident. Well, it was the car's fault.
Right.
Okay. I got another question. Chris says, Drazen literally appears weak and ineffectual. Are you willing, Danielle, to roll up your sleeves and go head to head with these leftist installed legislators?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Invite me to the space. I'll do it today, regardless of the election. I do it as a county commissioner and just somebody in my community. I think what's frustrating to me is the lines in the sand as far as the partisanship that exists that really are void of thoughtful, deep conversations about coming together and finding policy that works for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Christine. I think she's been an instrumental leader in Oregon. I'm just not like her. I do things differently. My approach is different. My philosophies, I think, are different. But at the end of the day, we're just different kind of women. And right. I guess my personality is more like put up or shut up. You should, if you're going to show up in this space, I expect you to perform. And I don't just mean with words. I want to see real outcomes and solutions. I've had enough of people talking about what they think is a good idea. I want people to show up and deliver on those ideas. That's what I want as an Oregonian. I think that's what we deserve in leadership. And also is it Chris that asked that question?
Yeah.
I don't know how often he spends his time in the Oregon Legislative Building and down at the Capitol. But every time I've gone in there in the last handful of years interacting with legislators, I said this earlier on a radio show, it feels like Groundhog Day to me. I go in and I sit down and I have a conversation and then I do it again, even if it's a week later or a month later or a year later, and I had the same conversation again. And what I've realized in that space is that they all think that they're the experts on everything because they're in that building. And what I can tell you is that so far I haven't met one that really understands what it is to be an expert on anything, let alone government and what their job is. And it's my perception that it should be their job to be my partner. As an elected official, as a county commissioner, as a policymaker, all the things, they don't get it. And I'm frustrated by that. The only person that I have real conversations with in that building is Ed Deal.
Yeah, because he's the real deal.
Yeah. And he wants real outcomes, right? Like
he's a businessman who came into this kind of not knowing if he was going to win, and he ends up winning and then finds that he's good at it, but he's really practical. And I think that's what we need in Salem is practical people with real experience, not in necessarily politics, but experience in running something, doing like Betsy. I know some people out there are Betsy Johnson haters, but I love Betsy. But she said, what Oregonians want is somebody that's going to do shit.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right.
Talk, instead of talk shit, why don't you do shit?
The thing that I enjoy about Ed is his curiosity. When I call him on the phone and express an issue I'm having with a state agency, like I'll just use motor voter as an example. In 2023, I think it was, the governor paused motor voter because they found that there were people registered to vote that aren't citizens of the United States. Ed came with me on a front row tour of the Oregon Department of Transportation at the largest DMV in Oregon, which happens to be housed in Salem. He didn't just come because there was cameras or it was a photo op or he needed to do some press. He literally sat at the table with me for a couple of hours with these people going through the system to understand how that happened. Yeah. Because he wanted to understand it and then he wanted to be a problem solver in that space. Of course, we ran into a brick wall called the Secretary of State's office on that. But regardless, he showed up to do the work, and I admire that. A lot of them just get stuck in the ivory tower. And when they're in that building, it's like that's the holy of all things life, and nothing's going on in the real world for them. They just think that's it. You're
not a real ivory tower kind of girl, are you?
No.
Being that you grew up homeless, you had spent some time being homeless, and I mean you've had real life experience of just some of the people you're serving.
Yeah, I had a really unique childhood, and I appreciate everything that I learned about life through the hardships and the opportunities that I navigated. And I can tell you that Well, I don't wish for anybody to have struggles. We all struggle in one way or the other. Like, just living life is difficult. Just growing and maturing and stabilizing is hard. But some people get a more of a rough shake at life than others. And for me, my mom's circumstances, my mom had severe and persistent mental illness. And because of that, it took her, my sister, and I on an interesting journey, just kind of wherever she needed to go. And the first time I ended up navigating homelessness, I was entering second grade. And we moved from Eugene to Southern Oregon. And I just told this story actually over the weekend to a large body of individuals. And everyone kind of gasps usually when they hear like the first time I experienced. But it wasn't like you think. It's not like it is today. You know, when this was, I mean, I'm going to be 47, so that was like 40 years ago that I was in this interesting space. And it felt like camping to me for a long time. We were, you know, down in Gold Hill, and there was another mom and her children with us, and we were there for, I don't know how long we were there. It just was life. But
Right.
Today, homelessness today is different than it was back then.
Right.
It's kind of hard for me to articulate it, even though I can feel the difference in it. Today, as a county commissioner, when I go into the camps and into the communities across Marion County that have folks who are navigating homelessness, we're talking about mental illness and drug addiction and a combination of both, and just people who are deeply, deeply lost and feel unloved. And that is hard to correct. It's not like what necessarily I was experiencing as a child, even though we had a lot of fear and a lot of challenges. Today, the systems are different because the government is so robust and intrusive in the lives of all of us. Back then, we had more community programs, we had more churches, and we had more local control and participation when people were struggling and kind of failing out.
What would you do as governor? If you were governor, because I know mental health is it's like one of those things that defines who you are. I mean,
yeah, right.
That's if you're going to have a pet issue, you know, everybody has those, you know, and yours is mental health. We're not doing the right thing right now, are we?
No. So I love that question. So I'm just going to redefine a little bit and say behavioral health, because it's not just about mental health. It's also about addiction health. Oregon runs everything from the top down. All the funding for all these systems come from the state or the feds. That's historically how it has been. But previously, decisions and control were promoted and executed at the local level. Between cities and counties, there was partnerships at the local level, in the communities, in the neighborhoods. And there used to be a want and a desire to allow the whole community to participate in the problem solving. But then, you know, we've moved away from real community expectations, community behavior expectations, and real local control. And the state has just essentially sucked it all up to the top. And we have leadership at the governor's office and in the legislature who think that they're, you know, end all be all, except for none of those people are service providers at the local level. They get it wrong because they're dictators. Through contracts and investment, without partnership and collaboration and communication with local governments and organizations, you get what we have today. One of the most frustrating things that I face as a county commissioner is the ignorance across the table for me with my state partners, whether that's in the legislature or at the state agencies or in the governor's office, and the unwillingness to truly learn and listen and be a collaborative partner. And the agendas that come from the governors. I'll just use an example of one area that just really pisses me off. So the Oregon legislature, as we all know, provides the funding to the governor's recommended budget that comes from the agency requested budgets. The agency's job is to essentially tell the governor what they need in order to operate. The governor puts their twist on it. There's inevitably some kind of agenda that overlays every agency requested budget when they wrap up that governor's recommended budget and send it to the legislature for funding. Oregon Housing and Community Services is one agency of the numerous state agencies that deals with funding and stabilization in the behavioral health system of care, specifically around housing and sheltering.
Okay.
So when you go look up the policy platforms at the Oregon Housing and Community Services today, for the $1.14 billion that Tina Kotek has been spending since she's been in office around housing and sheltering, it is a requirement that the individuals who receive those state dollars invest in low barrier, no barrier systems of care.
What does that mean?
It means that you can get high in a shelter that's funded by taxpayer dollars, that's run by any local organization, and that local organization must not have policies in place that require sobriety or heavily incentivize for sobriety.
Well, then how the hell are you going to get any better if you have behavioral health problems caused by drugs and alcohol? So you go into a place and you get to, it's like Club Med for drug addicts.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would love anybody on the left who makes these decisions to form like a real fact-based system and tell me how that works. What I do know is true is that we need to build and invest in like an elevator system of care. Everybody gets on and off elevators at a different floor because they're going to a different destination. Maybe they're starting here and going there. Oregon has not invested in a continuum of care with all resources at the table for over 20 years. They've followed the national model saying that for 20 years, we only need to do housing first or housing only invested care. Well, that doesn't work because not everybody's ready to come off the streets from their camp, high off their ass, into an apartment.
Right.
Since I've been a county commissioner, I have been able to go to those programs that have received a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars in some cases, and seen people who have been in homeless camps for a long time get into a unit that are still using buckets for a toilet, even though there's a bathroom in their apartment, because they're not equipped with certain life skills, and they're not mentally stable or healthy to be able to live normally in an apartment. This particular facility that I'm thinking of that's located in Salem is called a permanent supportive housing. And the supportive part, which is really where I get upset, doesn't require people to enter services. So they can just live there without being stabilized or receiving any kind of treatment, whether it's mental health or addiction health treatment, and taxpayers are paying for the facility. This particular facility,
where's the incentive to get better?
Well, there isn't any. That's the thing. So this particular facility that comes to mind for me, in 2021, when I became a commissioner, I met with the owner of the building. It's used to be used as like an assisted living, and it was converted to be a permanent supportive housing building. So there's 28 beds in it. And they were calling the cops multiple times a week because the individuals that live there have really high SPMI, so severe permanent mental illness. And a lot of them were using drugs. They would have emotional outbursts and complete breakdowns at the facility. And the folks that worked there they're not trained, they're not licensed professionals to deal with those types of crisis. So, of course, they were just calling 911, causing a significant burden on Salem police. Well, when I learned about this, I collaborated or convened a meeting. I brought my health team in, and I brought Salem PD in, and the housing provider, and the contracted agency that was doing the on-site supervision, essentially. And I just said, like, what's the solution here? Like, we can't just keep having this occur. It can't continue to be a burden on law enforcement. And these people can't just keep doing this. Like, at some point, they need to find stability. And so the suggestion is that the county partner with the facility, and we provide mental health supports at the facility. Fine. We spent a year at that facility, and not one person accepted care or treatment. It cost the county almost $1 million. that we will never get back, and nobody was helped for it. And it's simply because, going back to OHCS, which is the agency that funded this building, says that you are not required to accept services and you are not required to pick a thing, become sober, or enter into treatment for your mental health. So they're just allowed to fail out in this facility, and the building is so expensive to operate.
So, you know what, Danielle, what bugs me about that is like, and these people, you know, that support this kind of thing act like we care about these people, and we really, we have compassion, and to let them they have to just be. That is not compassion. That is not kindness. You have to require something of people to get. Nobody's going to get better if they're really just stringing it along. And it's really,
here's the way I feel about that is the people making these decisions don't know what the hell they're talking about.
no, they're stupid.
They're not the ones in the space dealing with these individuals. They're not experts in the
No.
mental health field
They're
or the
doing
addiction
sounds
field.
good, sounds like, well, because just like a parent, you can be a good parent or a bad parent. And the bad parent is the one that, well, I just let, little Mikey do what he wants. He's just free to do what he wants. And that sounds so nice. But little Mikey might need sometimes to have his little head, looking at the right direction. And sometimes you have to put him in a timeout because he didn't do what he's supposed to do. And it's no wonder we have so much. So, can you imagine? I'm going to say something really bad. The Oregon legislature, the Democrats, I hope they don't have kids, because if this is how you manage your family, you can't manage people that way. You have to be, what a horrible parenting skill.
The problem with all of that is that I don't think the average Democrat in the legislature even understands what I just described. I don't think that when they vote on something or they say they support something, I don't know that they understand the depth of that decision or the cost. Like, it is expensive to just take care of somebody who wants to just fail out into life. And Oregon's system, its mental health system, is so broken that even if you wanted to help them today, you couldn't. This
because
year,
they have too many laws that protect them more than laws that do what's best for them.
Yes. Yeah, and they won't take the risk. During the 2025 legislative session, I was in the building repeatedly advocating for the reduction in policy around civil commitment, working to try to redesign our system to lower the bar so that way local mental health authorities, which is what county commissioners are, can work with the circuit court and law enforcement and families to figure out how to stabilize individuals who are failing out in their mental health. And House Bill 2467 was a bill that was designed in 2025 to lower the bar of civil commitment. That got smashed into another bill to ratify the Mink decision, which was that federal decision around the Oregon State Hospital.
Yeah.
That bill passed. So right now, today in Oregon, Oregonians that follow along with behavioral health are under the illusion that we made progress. What the legislature refused to do, absolutely refused to consider language that Marion County brought forward, that I brought forward to complement the lowering of the bar of civil commitment to allow transportation of individuals who need access to civil commitment, whether that be through the court or not. There's two ways to help people who have the need for civil commitment. You can either do a two-party petition with a doctor and a loved one or a close friend, or you can do it through the courts and law enforcement. It's my preference that we catch people in the system before the criminal justice system or the justice system gets involved at all. But Oregon that's not how we operate. And in fact, I always find it fascinating when Democrats say that they are essentially more pro behavioral health care, but yet they don't fix the systems for behavioral health care to be effective. And inevitably, no matter what happens, is the criminal justice system is the system that catches everybody, and it costs Oregonians so much more money, and it hurts people much deeper because the process is so much more complicated.
Lori,
you asked me what I would do.
Yeah, real quick. Lori says on here, it's a gang of idiots and stupid should hurt more.
She's not
But you
wrong.
know what, Lori, and I know what you mean, and I think that's very funny. But here's the thing: stupid does hurt more because stupid is hurting Oregonians who don't have behavioral health. And
But it's also hurting their family members and our
all those
pocketbooks.
kids and those people.
Everybody is suffering. Everybody is suffering because of poor behavioral health systems in Oregon.
So did you get your what would you do in there?
No. So you asked me what I would do. The answer to that question is I would redesign the way the system of care at the state level is drafted. And I would stand on the bully pulpit as the governor and talk to Oregonians about what is existing today and what I believe should exist tomorrow, and walk them through that process and redesign, that agenda that I described that the governor applies to the budget process before it gets to the legislature, and then spend a lot of time in the legislature educating those individuals as to the why behind that redesign. We really have to do something very different, and I do that.
Don't you think, I mean, from what you've described, that's taking more money than people have any idea. I mean,
oh my God,
that alone could be a huge help, not only assistance, real assistance to these people, these Oregonians, our neighbors, our families who need it, but it also would take less money that you as Oregonians have to pay. You could put that money into, hey, maybe getting the schools past number 48.
Yeah, well, yes, the cost is super high right now, and there's so many missing components to the conversation, or the seats that are filled at the current table are only speaking from one voice or one lens, and that needs to be diversified. I'm just sick and tired of hearing the narrative from one particular side of the world. Like, we need to be hearing from everybody. I have the privilege as a Marion County Commissioner to design our system of care with different dollars than state invested dollars.
See, what I'm tired of is the Democrats owning the conversation like they're so compassionate and so caring that the left cares more than the right, when in fact that is just so untrue. Because again, I don't think it's caring when you allow people to squalor in the streets of our communities because we're too afraid to put up a standard that says no, or to go into rehab and actually not be rehab because you're letting them use drugs and alcohol. That is not kindness. That's cruelty. And I want it called out for what it is. These are cruel. That is a cruel way to treat people, and it needs to stop. I got another question for you. Lori, I got to tell Lori on here. I said, John Kennedy, he is my favorite politician in Washington, D.C. He says she said that line that she said was from him. My favorite John Kennedy line is, AOC is the reason they put directions on shampoo bottles.
I never want to have a conversation with her. Never.
No. Okay, so Danielle, the big question. So Christine Drazen's in the race now. Last time we talked, she wasn't. How do you, I think as Republicans, it feels like she's like the one they're pushing out there. The dollars, you guys have to fight now for the dollars from each other because you got so many dollars in Oregon, and people are going to go, who's going to stand the best chance? How do you put yourself up in that place and respond to something like that?
Well, I think it's important that Oregonians do their research. I think you've said this since probably before you ran for Secretary of State. We need to not just sit down and have the establishment pick who we want in leadership. And I don't know who per se is pushing her anywhere. I have yet to understand what that is defined as. There's just a stark difference between her and I. We just have different backgrounds. Like I said before, we have different approaches. We have different skill sets and experiences. And at the end of the day, while she's got a great PR team that's pushing her out there doing all these interesting little PR hits in front of, trucks and warehouses with people standing behind her with signs, I don't know that that's resonating with the average Oregonian. When I've been on this race trail, on this campaign trail since early April. I've been in numerous counties across the state, And all I'm hearing is the request for truth and authenticity. I'm going to answer your question when it's asked of me. I'm not going to come up with some hyperbole that's going to make you think that I know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to give you the answer for the information that I have, the skill that I have, the work that I've done. And I look forward to being on a stage and going into a debate style. I hope we can do a long form debate to where real questions can be asked and we can stand on the stage and really talk about who we are and how we would do things. I think that creates an obvious awareness in how she and I are different. Christine's a great gal. I don't dislike her. I helped her in 2022. I really wanted her to win in 2022, like desperately. I also love Betsy Johnson, if I'm being totally honest. It was a hard year.
And why can't you be that? Why can't we like who we like? And you know what I mean? It's become so weird. It's like you're either in, everybody has to go for so-and-so, or we're going to do this. And I think Republicans, one thing I think that Republicans do is they freak out. Like right now, it's been so long since they've had a governor that's a Republican. Yeah. And it's, and things are really, the super majority in the legislature is just ineffective and horrible. And we need some trails. So now people panic and go, what's safe? What's safe? Well, maybe safe isn't really what we need.
Well, here's the question. I think this is the question. This is what I've asked every group that I've been in front of in the last 6 months, is that, we all know who Christine is. Like, she spent $26 million on her name ID in 2022. If you don't know who she was, you're living under a really big rock. But that's not what we're supposed to ask ourselves. The question shouldn't be, do we know who she is? It's not about, do we know who Danielle Bethell is? It's what can they do, and can they win in November? The question is, can they win in November? And we need the candidate to come out of May to win in November. And every single candidate that is on the May primary ballot better rally up and suck it up and win in November for the candidate that comes out of the primary, period. I've had enough of the factions of the Republican Party and how, there's so many of them, it's hard to keep track. And all of them feel like they're right, and good for them. I support them in their righteousness, but I also want them to rally. It's time for us to get off our asses and to just do the work. And that's what the governor's office is about. It's not about being a bright, shiny object that, it's the governor. It's like, get your shit done. We need somebody that's going to go in there and just do the work.
And lead Oregon, not be governor. We don't need somebody to be governor. We're going to get that no matter what. We need somebody that's going to lead Oregon. And I think there's a lot of people that want to be governor. I think there's much fewer that want to truly lead Oregon. And
I'll tell you, if you really want to be the governor, then you should feel your head, as you asked earlier today, to see if there's anything wrong with you, because it's not as chalked up as one would think it is, right? It's not, campaigning is hard no matter where you're at, whatever level of government you're at. There's people that love you, people that hate you, people that don't know about you, the whole thing. But the governor's job is to run the state.
Yeah.
That's it. It's to make sure the legislature understands what the state needs, what the people need, and be able to design a system that works. Not steal money like the ODOT transportation package that's going haywire thanks to Oregonians using their voice. Not gaslighting them through bullshit policies like the Habitat Conservation Plan.
Would that be really calling the entire legislature together for an emergency legislative session and then going to Astoria shopping?
No.
Or just recently flying on a private jet to Hawaii after you sign the tax bill for Oregonians to get taxed the highest percentage of their tax that they've had. And that's rumor. I don't know that. I've just had several people write me and say, hey, she took a friend of mine's private jet to Hawaii. It's like, this isn't glamour job. This is a job. And that's why we're probably in the position that we're in, is because the last two administrations as governor, did more to puff up their future and get their dollars than they did to really run Oregon. And except, I guess you could count running it into the ground as running it, but that's not the direction we want. Danielle, it's really good to have you on here, and we'll have you on again. You just keep moving. You guys, you can follow her on Facebook, and you can see all this stuff. I mean, this week, I don't know what you haven't been, but she's been out with all the helping to gather signatures and doing all that kind of stuff as well. So how do people get a hold of you? What's your website?
Yeah, it's DanielleBethellForGovernor.com. And I'm on all the social media modes like X, Twitter. No, X and Twitter are the same. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And I want people to invite me into their communities to have a conversation. You can reach out at my email is team@DanielleBethellForGovernor.com, and you can ask questions there. I hope that people realize that while social media is a great place for them to get information, it's not a place to have a conversation. I had a gal ask me on Friday, I've been posting questions for you on your Facebook page and you don't answer me. And I was like, do you see how many people post on there? There's not enough time in the freaking day for me to go through the hundreds of questions.
I always tell people to send me an email. Don't send me a text or that. I get too many. I mean, people like you and me, we get thousands of texts and I don't see it. And you guys, I will tell you, Danielle is also, she's not afraid to go to rural Oregon, like our current governor.
I love rural Oregon. In fact, I did get to see her. I was over at the Pendleton Roundup a few months ago, and she was there for one evening, and then there was an unfortunate situation of a shooting happened in a local tavern, and she was out of there lickety split. And I was like, this feels like something that happens over here, guns and alcohol.
Debbie Smith says, I really like this candidate a lot. I've heard her name, but knew nothing about her until now. I really like her candid, honest answers on things. It's so refreshing to hear honesty. So Debbie, what you can do is just share this link right from here directly to, just go share, and it'll share it right on your page so other people can see it. And anybody that wants to share it can do that. But get a hold of Danielle. She's very, very approachable. And if you're in Eugene, she's there.
I am here. Good luck getting into the hotel. It's packed.
Yeah. Hey, Danielle, thank you again. All right. We'll see you later. All right, you guys. So we're trying, for years, I've heard people when I was a news guy saying, I don't know anything about the candidates. Do not go voting for people you don't know. Don't go in there and just look and go, oh, that's a pretty name, or I remember that name. She must have done something good, because we've done that for 40 some years and it hasn't worked out so well, has it? No. So you need to study up on these candidates. We've had Danielle on a couple of times. I've had, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, I think four other candidates on here. We'll get Christine Drazen on here as well to talk with her a little bit about what she's thinking. But you guys have to do your own homework. There's a lot of people going to tell you things, but I can tell you Danielle's a straight shooter. I mean, what you see is what you get. And so anyway, and Debbie, you are very welcome. And thank you for sharing that on there as well. All right, tomorrow night, interesting show. So we've got a couple of parents in Rogue River, Oregon, who are coming on tomorrow night. They found a video that was being played in their kids' classroom at school. And I think the kids were 8 or 9. And the video is going to shock the hell out of you, because it's basically a ghost holding down a woman while her new husband rapes her. And this was shown in a classroom. And the parents are very upset. And so I'm going to show that video and let them come on and explain what was going on. Second part of our show tomorrow is a group here in Montana. They're a Christian organization. They fight for families, freedom, and faith. And I heard Derek speak at a conference I went to just recently here. And there were some laws that came in dealing with trans issues and some of that were passed. They went in, and I mean, he's going to have to explain it, but they went in and found ways that make it so expensive that it doesn't matter if the law is the law. People will not, it's mute. Nobody's going to fight it because of some things that they did. So I want him to come on and explain this, so some of you in Oregon can start seeing there are ways to deal with this stuff. You don't always have to win to win. And you're going to love this guy. He's like 9 foot tall, and he's really interesting. And so that's going to be tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we have Jake Pelroy. He's running for Lane County Commissioner in the East District. And so Jake's going to come on. And I think I'm also going to I'm working on some things. Youngquest, one of our legislators, a Republican legislator, had mentioned today, and I wanted to have him on. And so that should be a really interesting week. So tune in every day, 4:00, but not Thursday, because I'm doing a podcast with some lady in, I don't know, some country. I don't know. I say yes. Yeah. All right. Share this on your page, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Okay. Oh, by the way, too, I have a private site now called NAS. It's Rick Dancer. Oh, you're welcome, Danielle. She just thanked me on a text. It's a $12 a month thing, and I provide more content and some other stuff. If you're interested in supporting what we do, you can ask me more questions and go on there, and you can sign up, and it's like $12 a month, and we've got like 200 people on there right now. So like I said, it's a little more personal, and I talk about things that I would never talk about on social media because these people will kill me. All right, have a good night. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.